So I know you guys go to church and are very active just down the street from the Alamo. Can I ask how many have been to the Alamo lately? Okay, that's a good number. So you know that the Alamo is changing. There's a lot of construction there, a lot of growth, and I want to walk you through. I'm sure you've read in the paper about the Alamo plan, and people have been talking about the Alamo plan for years. I remember first moving back to San Antonio when the discussions were beginning about, we want to redevelop the Alamo, what are we going to do? And there was debate about it and different versions of the plan for 10 years. And finally, we have all from local, state, come together and really found this is the path forward, this is the plan that's going to work. So what is the Alamo plan? It has three main pillars. The first one is conserving and preserving the fragile 300-year-old church in Lawn Barrack. And we actually have a video about the conservation efforts underway right now. And I'm hoping that we can play it for you. This is the church wall conservation video.
Preservation and conservation are paramount to the Alamo plan. Currently, we are working on an assessment of the facade of the Alamo Church. Being up on the lift, you really get to know a part of the Alamo Church that not everyone gets to see. This project entails assessing approximately 1,800 square feet. Every stone and mortar surround and documenting its existing condition. There are stones that are in need of immediate conservation treatment by skilled stone conservators. He gently taps the stone and he is sounding it in search of voids or detachment. The point of this assessment is to document how this 300-year-old facade is aging and what we can do as a team to preserve the Alamo Church facade for years to come.
That was Pam Jerry Rosser, the Alamo conservator. If her name sounds familiar, the Jerry family is known for architecture and conservation. She and her mother helped restore the Moody Mansion in Galveston. Her father was a premier architect who, among other things, worked at where I went to school, Keystone School, and helped preserve the old buildings there. And something Pam and her mother did in the year 2000, they were working inside the Alamo Church sacristy, and they uncovered breathtaking frescoes, evidence of paint on the wall. And it turns out that when the Army took over the Alamo in the mid-1840s, they had rehabbed it to fit their needs of a warehouse. They added the iconic arched roof, and they also put layers of whitewash on the wall. Well, unbeknownst to them, that whitewash preserved these fresco fragments for generations. And Pam and her mother were able to uncover a lot of them. And we've been able to do historic research into what do these frescoes mean. You'll see pomegranates. Well, pomegranates symbolize the Holy Trinity. So in the mission era of the church, it was like, well, your culture, you have a fruit with three pieces, and in the Catholic religion, we have the Holy Trinity. So they were making symbols that way. And something that Pam has been instrumental in that just opened in September, we've reopened the sacristy room of the church for the first time in 7 years. And there is an immersive exhibit where projected onto a temporary wall, because we can't do anything to the historic wall, is a 4 to 5 minute video that shows you what the frescoes would have looked like during the mission era. And some chamber music plays, and it's beautiful because you've all seen with the other 4 historic Southside missions, the cities projected onto the facade, a light show showing that they were white and then had these beautiful, colorful paintings on them. Well, the sacristy was the same way. And this video takes you from the mission era into the battle where women and children were hiding for their lives. And you hear the cannons and the gunshots and horses, and you can feel it rumbling, and you imagine what it must have been like for them hiding in there. And then it takes you through how the Army painted the whitewash, and there's some really cool animations showing what is around you, because people like Pam have a very trained eye. She can see the little details. For people like me who maybe don't have as good of eyesight, this really does the guesswork for you of showing you this is what the room looked like. So it's free to enter to go see this sacristy exhibit. and I encourage all of you to do so because it's a really emotional, powerful experience. So that was the first pillar, preserving the church in Lawn Barrack. The second pillar is reclaiming the battlefield footprint. Our tour guides do a really good job of explaining that. They take their whole tour and they say, where's the Alamo? And people point at the church. And they say, actually, you're standing in the Alamo. It was a 4.5-acre, vibrant community where people lived and went to church and farmed. So we're trying to reclaim it from the commercialization that really started in the 1880s, 1890s. So if you can see this rendering, and it's hard a little bit to orient yourself because this is the church. So imagine you're on Alamo Plaza and you look to your left and here's the church. This whole area will be reclaimed as part of the footprint. It's going to start with Plaza de Valero. That's under construction right now. So if you've been to the Alamo, you've seen there's a big construction fence and you're not really quite sure what's happening in the middle of the road. And I'm gonna move over here if that's okay. This whole stretch down to River Center is going to become pedestrian only. No more car traffic. There will be tour buses that can go down. And it's gonna be a place where people can sit at tables, eat lunch, enjoy some new greenery we're putting in. There will also be a stage area, a covered stage, and some green space. We're hoping that this will be done by 4th of July because we'd like to have a lovely 4th of July concert involving all the companies from the Tobin Center to really show San Antonio this is going to be a community gathering space. We also envision having history talks out there, maybe movie nights, but that's what's going to happen here. You've also seen this little horseshoe-shaped thing. It kind of started getting built in the spring and we opened it for a couple of weeks and we've had to close it again. That's a recreation of the Mission Gate in Lunette. That was the original entrance to the fort. A local artist, Carlos Cortez, has been working with his sons on it. And he works in a very traditional technique called faux bois. You can see what he's doing at the Riverwalk Grotto, Brackenridge Park. There's a bus station by Central Market where you can see his work. He basically takes concrete and designs it to look like wood. It's extremely impressive. Another part of reclaiming the footprint is all of you probably have kids and grandchildren who have gone to the Alamo on field trips. We get lots of kids on field trips, 155,000 school-aged children every year. And they've never had a place to call their own. Their teachers are often carrying, the coolers of their lunches behind them, and they sit on Alamo Plaza and eat lunch. But we'd like to give them a dedicated place where they can call their own, where they can come in, and that's gonna be over here, the Texas Cavaliers Education Center. We're breaking ground on it in a couple of weeks, November 15th, which is very exciting. It's going to have a special entrance for children, for buses to drop the kids off. As you know, being in downtown San Antonio, we wanna have a safe space for children, but it's also hard to deal with the traffic of the school buses and safety, so there will be a dedicated drop-off pickup site. And I'd like to play you a video about the Education Center.
Welcome to the Texas Cavaliers Education Center. The year is 2025. The treasured partnership between the Alamo and the Texas Cavaliers is embarking on its journey to mold the minds of students across the Lone Star State and around the world. Let's step inside the Education Center. Thanks to the awe-inspiring generosity of the Texas Cavaliers, school children are immersing themselves in the rich history of Texas. The lecture hall and orientation theater is where history comes alive like never before. A STEAM lab is giving kids hands-on experience with science, technology, engineering, the arts, and math, redefining the way we explore and understand history and conservation work. The Early Learner Hub is for our youngest visitors, an environment perfectly suited for their emerging curiosity. The Distance Learning Lab is offering virtual field trips so students everywhere can tap into history talks, archaeological discoveries, and commemorative ceremonies, all at the click of a button. Last but certainly not least, the beautiful second-floor terrace overlooking the iconic Alamo Church presents breathtaking panoramic views just perfect for hosting private events. The Texas Cavaliers Education Center, igniting a lifelong passion for history. Step into the future as we remember the Alamo.
able to start their day, watch a short video and hear from our education team about the importance of the Alamo, explore the site, really spend the full day there in different classrooms and labs. You could also see in the video some spruced up gardens. And the Alamo gardens have always been beautiful, but we're going to put in some more native plants to recreate what it would have looked like back when the Alamo Church was built. So that's very exciting. If you're wondering where it's going to be where the current Alamo Hall is. You may have been there for events. Some of you may be part of the Daughters of the Republic of Texas. That building was the original City of San Antonio Fire Station number 2. And so there's a lot of work being done to build the education center, but also keep a lot of those touches, the historic touches in there. So we're going to be using things like the original tile floor and really preserving a lot of it, because a lot of what we call newer parts of the Alamo were WPA projects. So that's an important part of history to preserve as well. So that's the groundbreaking November 15th. We hope to have it done by 2025. And then what we like to call the crown jewel of the Alamo Plan, the third pillar of the Alamo Plan, is the Visitor Center and Museum. So it's across the street from the Alamo Church. You'll remember the first floor, we call this the Crockett Block in the Woolworth Building. That's where a lot of businesses have been for decades. And I'm sure you've read in the paper that we've worked with a lot of them to move out or move down the street. And this will be the site of the Visitor Center and Museum. And we can play a video about that too.
The Alamo is the #1 tourist destination in Texas, and in just a few short years, a world-class visitor center and museum will open right across the street from the iconic Alamo Church, showcasing thousands of artifacts, including from the remarkable Phil Collins collection. The journey begins in the lobby, tracing the Mission and Fort's western wall beneath your feet, and also recreated through glass representations that will highlight the massive size and scope of what was the 4.5-acre historic site. Statues called vignettes will grace the freely accessible ground floor, chronologically representing the individuals who proudly shaped the history of what would become the Alamo City. The 8 galleries take visitors on a tour through time, starting with the indigenous people who first settled the land, followed by the Spanish missionaries drawn to the banks of the San Antonio River. From there, enter the most extensive exhibition on the Texas Revolution and the renowned Battle of the Alamo. Next, galleries take guests through the Alamo's time as a frontier post for the U.S. military, then learning how the cherished site became a memorial, serving as the foundation to the fast-growing downtown San Antonio area. Then we'll unveil how society continues to remember the Alamo, ranging from military honors to pop culture tributes. But that's not all. A civil rights exhibit will recreate the historic Woolworth lunch counter, one of the first in San Antonio to be peacefully desegregated in 1960. A one-of-a-kind 4D theater will provide you with an immersive history of the site, culminating in a visceral experience of the Battle of the Alamo, where the cannons fire, your seats will shake, and smoke will fill the room. The expansive rooftop event space embodies the spirit of Texas, seating up to 700 people with breathtaking panoramic terraces on 3 sides, offering stunning views of the Alamo Church and downtown San Antonio. A first-floor cafe will be a welcoming spot for guests to grab coffee and enjoy a meal during an eventful day of sightseeing. And we can't forget the gift shop located right next to the cafe and lobby. When the Visitor Center and Museum opens its doors in 2027, the Alamo grounds will host an anticipated 2.5 million visitors a year from across the United States and around the world. Step into the future as we remember the Alamo.
So you can see there are a lot of big plans coming. We call this the main course. If you'd like to see the appetizer, the Ralston Family Collection Center opened in March. It's the first new building on the grounds of the Alamo in decades. And it tells the story of 3 collectors, the Alamo Collection, Phil Collins, and Donald in Louisiana. Donald Vienna is a local painter, and he collected artifacts to make his paintings accurate. So we have his artifacts in there as well as a lot of paintings that we commissioned just for this building. Phil Collins, the British rock star, it also tells his story. People ask, how did that guy over in the UK get interested in the Alamo? Well, he watched the 1950s Walt Disney series on Davy Crockett, and he said while other kids were dressing up and playing soldiers, he would dress up and play as Davy Crockett. So then he becomes a rock star with Genesis. They're touring America. They have a couple of days off. So he takes time to go see the Alamo. And he said coming around the corner and seeing it just took his breath away. It was a childhood dream. And shortly after that, he got the collecting bug. And he started just collecting and buying at auction and all kinds of artifacts, from documents to military equipment. And I'm going to show you a video of what you can see in a second. But he would come to the Alamo and just be a guy. You had no idea, apparently, he was this rock star. He would stay across the street at the Hyatt Regency in one of the rooms on the top floor where you can see the Alamo. And he would just come and hang out with the Alamo Rangers for a day and go to the history shops around and just really enjoyed being here. So Phil Collins is really what got the whole Alamo plan started, because all of these artifacts were just in his basement in Switzerland. And he knew he didn't want them just to stay there where no one could see them. So in 2014, he donated them to the state of Texas. He became an honorary Texan. And his really only stipulation is that he wanted these artifacts to be on display. So we are making good on that promise. The Visitor Center and Museum will have pretty much every artifact we have on display. What we opened in March was the Ralston Family Collection Center. I'd like to show you a video of just some of the artifacts you'll see in there. Appetizer to the main course. I heard you say, wow, at that front display case in the lobby. That one display case has more artifacts in that case than we have ever been able to display at the Alamo at one time. We had to take a lot of things out of the Alamo Church and Lawn Barrack. If you remember, we used to have artifacts in there that you could see. There's a lot of moisture in those buildings because they were made out of limestone, so it really is not a good place to store artifacts for a long period of time. The Collection Center and the Future Visitor Center and Museum have great museum quality climate control, so we really can put out things that people hadn't seen in years. Like something in that video was a buckskin vest from the Crockett family, documents that are so fragile, including Santa Anna's battle orders and a document that's the founding document of the mission that became the Alamo. You also saw in there, there's a diorama. And that's really one of the things that people come in and they have like a wow moment. It's narrated by Phil Collins, and it's got a light show, and it tells you, you see the whole footprint of the Alamo mission and fort, and it tells you exactly what happened in what order during the battle. So it's really instructive to people, and it's hard in a downtown setting to really understand like how big the footprint is. So to see it, that's the light bulb moment. So that's open 364 days a year. The only day we are closed is Christmas Day. And I don't know if you were able to read in there, but it does offer discounts to children. It's free for kids under 5. There's senior citizen discounts. So we definitely hope that you will come make some time to see it, because it's a true treasure that we're so proud of. So you're probably wondering, how are we paying for all this? The Alamo Plan takes some serious money. We are very fortunate that in this past legislative session that ended this year, the state appropriated $400 million to make it happen. We are also raising $150 million privately. Our mission is to be self-sustaining. So that's why we're having things like events at the roof. That's why that's such a big deal to be included in the Alamo Plan, because it's an additional revenue stream on top of the various tours and things like that. So we don't have to go back to the state for operating dollars. The state will still pitch in money to preserve the church in Lawn Barrack, because that's very important to the state of Texas, to preserve the Shrine of Texas Liberty. But this means that we will be self-sustaining. If you'd like to help on a smaller level as well, you can join Friends of the Alamo. I left some flyers at the table over there. The benefits of Friends of the Alamo are free admission to the collection center. You get a monthly emailed newsletter. You get a discount in the gift shop. You get members-only previews. Like when the collection center opened, there was a members-only preview. When the sacristy reopened for the first time in 7 years, there was a members-only preview. So you get some really cool sneak peeks. It also helps go toward the preservation funds too. So we try to tell people, even if you don't live in San Antonio, it's a great way just to contribute to the Alamo. Memberships start at $50, and they go up in terms of how much you'd like to give, or if you'd like to give to a larger family. And it's a great gift for the holidays. I just had a meeting with the assistant city manager, Lori Houston, who oversees a lot of the downtown operations, and her daughter's about 9 years old. And she said, my daughter does not need one more doll. You know, I want to give her an experience. And Friends of the Alamo is a good experience because it gives you access to so much of the grounds. That's pretty much it for me. I would love to hear your questions and anything you would like to know that I did not cover.
And if you have a question, raise your hand. I'll give you the mic. And we do that because we do have a few people who live stream. And I was talking to Carrie Davison yesterday, and she said, it's so much better when you pass the mic. So if you have a question, raise your hand. I'll hand you the mic, and we'll work our way around the room.
So I was wondering if there's any plans to bring the Travis letter back to the Alamo.
There are plans to bring the Travis letter back. I don't know the specifics, but we are expecting to bring the letter back next year. So when we know, we will shout it from the rooftops. And on that note, I do realize I neglected to mention the cenotaph monument. I know that that's been a big concern for the community. The cenotaph monument is not moving. It is staying put. But it does need some love. That's what I call it. It needs some attention. So in a couple of weeks, we're going to do an investigation, basically, where we're going to have teams come in and look at the structural integrity of it. You can see, just standing from the ground, there are cracks in the foundation. Some of the faces of the defenders have fallen off over the years. So they just need to see, what do we need to do to make sure that we can preserve it in place. So what we're going to do is, if we have to take the top off, for example, to put in a camera and look inside, then no stone is going to leave the Alamo grounds. It will be preserved in place. There's also going to be a live stream where you can watch it live from the comfort of your home. You can come down and watch it. We want to make this process of restoring the cenotaph as transparent as possible.
I was wondering if you knew the name of the architect that's doing the buildings, the new development?
Yeah, so it's a big partnership. There's a company called Gallagher that works with a lot of museums, including the World War II Museum in New Orleans, that's renowned for this type of thing. And Patrick Gallagher, who runs it, he's been quoted around the office as saying, the Alamo is the last great historic site to not have something like this. So they are very much on board with this. There's also a team here at Gensler that works with us on a lot of the renderings. They work with a lot of museums. They're down the street on Houston Street, across from the Majestic. That's where their local office is, but they're a big national company. And if you go into a museum and you see there are things on the wall and designs and stuff, you don't really think about like, who creates that? Well, they do. So we're very fortunate to have them. And I don't think there's been a local contractor chosen for the actual nitty-gritty of the construction. I know we are looking at a lot of local contractors because we do recognize the importance of staying local. For example, with the cenotaph, Clark Guido is going to be handling a lot of the preservation work, and they were part of the original team that restored it many years ago. So we do see the value of staying local, trusting Texans to take care of Texas.
Other questions?
My question is, you mentioned memberships in the
Yes.
Alamo. Where do you go to get a membership?
Well, I left some flyers on the table over there, and you can either call or email or sign up online, whatever your comfort level is.
You can call.
Yes,
okay.
you can call. There's a phone number on there. And
Yay.
she'll walk you through it. She can even mail something to your house. But the membership flyer will take care of all of that. And I also left, I don't have business cards for everybody, but I left a stack over there. So you can get in touch with me through cell phone, text, email, whatever is easier for you. And I can also share it with the Reverend to make sure if you have any questions that you're covered.
One other question, if I can remember the question.
That happens to me all the time.
I will talk to you about it later.
Okay. One of those.
Other questions? Don't be afraid of the microphone. If you have questions. Could we get a group discount?
You could on tours, absolutely. We have a great group tour coordinator who works with, the Alamo is a global site, which is something I didn't totally realize, but we have people from Japan coming, from the UK, from all over the world. And so they call and they find group rates and they just want a little more of a personalized experience. We can definitely arrange that.
'Cause I think it's been a while since we've gone together.
We can make that happen.
And these folks have been around much longer than I have in San Antonio and probably have seen it all, but this might be a good opportunity to reconnect and see some of the new things that are going on. Other questions? Well,
Right here.
I just want to say that having visited the Alamo about 3 weeks ago, there's so much more there than was there even before I went the last time. It's unbelievable how much has been done to save this precious site, and I'm pleased to hear what you're going to be doing with it as it goes along. I love history, and this is one of the great parts of history, and everybody should be aware of it, and they should have the opportunity to see it, and have the opportunity to really experience it in many different ways. So thank you for your work and all the work that's being done.
Thank you. It's been such an honor to speak here today. Awesome. We'll take it.
You mentioned the Daughters of the Republic of Texas. Are they still in any way involved with the museum for
Yes.
fundraising or whatever?
We work very closely with them. I think people are aware that they moved out a lot of their library. Some of it went to Austin, some stayed here in Bexar County across from the courthouse. But our executive director, Dr. Kate Rogers, recently became a daughter just in the past couple of months. So it's still a partnership that we value very much. They are actively involved on the site. They still have their, during Fiesta, the pilgrimage from the Tobin Center area down to the Alamo, so we see them around quite a bit. And speaking of Fiesta, that is a common question I get about, can the parade still go in front of the Alamo? And the answer is yes. You guys all know, you've read your history, that Fiesta started because of the Alamo. The Battle of Flowers originated as a way to honor the Alamo defenders. So even with this construction, we are committed to the parades going down the street.
Any others? Well, thank you so much for being with us.
I really enjoyed this opportunity. Thank you so much.
And just a token of our appreciation for you being here, this is a history of our church.
Thank you. That's
That was
so kind
put
of
together
you.
at our 150th anniversary. We just recently celebrated 175, and we're probably, 178, close to that. So we don't have another book. And this is definitely going to be a collector's item because I think there's only 10 more copies of this in my office.
Well, thank you.
And we give it to our people who come to speak. So hold on to that.
I will.
And maybe even keep it wrapped.
I'm especially noting the date, 1846, 1 year after Texas became part of the United States.
Yeah, we are the oldest Protestant church in San Antonio. We aren't the oldest church because of the missions,
Right.
but we are the oldest Protestant church in San Antonio. So thank you for being here. I'm sorry to say that Emily will not be able to stay for lunch.
But I can stay a few extra minutes
So
if
if
you
you
have
want
any
to,
more
we're a little bit
questions.
early, so if you want to take some time and chat with her before she leaves, but when she needs to leave, you need to leave. So
It's okay. I have to take down the renderings and things, so we've got time.
yeah, so thank you again
Thank
for
you.
being here. Let me pray for our time together and for our lunch together and just the fellowship that we'll enjoy. Father, thank you for the opportunity that we have to be together. Thank you for the fellowship and friendships that are nurtured through this Keys program. We're thankful for the history and the legacy that we share. And thank you for the opportunity we have to get an insight into some of the new things that are coming down for the Alamo, and pray that you would open up some opportunities for us to get personally involved. Thank you for the time that we'll share together at lunch. We pray for your blessing on those that have prepared the meal, and will serve the meal, and pray that we would have a good time of fellowship around the table. In Jesus' name, amen.